How you doing, and welcome to my channel. Now today, as you can see, I'm having a look at the present toys police robot T-1000. Just having a quick look at the box, you can see we have the T-1000 in his liquid metal form with his iconic finger wagging gesture, I suppose you'd call it. On the side we have an extension of that face, just basically the rest of the face of the T-1000. On the back we have the usual choking hazard warnings, and while I lift off this sleeve, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And on the back there we have more choking hazard warnings and police robot present toys on the side, and then we have a full image of the T-1000 in his liquid metal form and police robot written on the back, and then police robot T-1000 written underneath that. So also, actually, while I'm at it, you do get this as a pre-order bonus or pre-order gift, which is a spare body for the T-1000. As most of you know, he does come with two outfits, so this is an option to display him in both of his looks if you so choose. Spare head sculpt as well, and you can see it is the the magnetic body that comes with him. So it's nice to have that as an option if you do want to display him in both looks. So there we have it for the boxes. Let's move on and have a quick pan of the figure before we have a look at the accessories. So here we are for a quick pan of the T-1000 from Present Toys. Prototype Series 1000, a shape-shifting Terminator, liquid metal, mimetic polyalloy. In the film's novelization, it is explained that the T-1000 is a nanomorph, as it uses nanotechnology, superior to the T-800 in strength and speed. Also in the novel, it is explained that the T-1000 was not designed to interact with other Terminators, let alone combat them, which is why when he first takes on the T-1000 in the shopping mall, he looks surprised to not be able to easily overpower the T-800. And he didn't have detailed files on the other Terminators or the T-800, which is apparent at the end of the movie when he drives the metal bar through the T-800, thinking that he had neutralized them, but not being aware of the older T-800 model having emergency reboot power backup. The T-1000 was essentially indestructible, but extreme temperatures were its ultimate weakness, as we see towards the end of the movie, when it gets frozen by liquid nitrogen, and when it reassembles in the director's cut, you can see that it's glitching from being frozen, shattered, and then reassembles, but it is glitching and not working correctly. And then its ultimate demise being the molten metal. So, as I said, extreme temperatures seem to be its ultimate weakness. The T-1000 is fully autonomous, allowing it to be self-aware, which in turn means it can make its own decisions, which is why the T-1000 was not mass-produced by T-1000, because it made Skynet very nervous, because it ultimately couldn't be controlled. And the only reason they sent it back to eliminate John Connor as a boy was out of desperation, because they were losing the war. So that's just a quick rundown on the T-1000. So here we are for all of the accessories and attachments that come with the Present Toys T-1000. Just getting the head sculpts out of the way, because as per usual my camera just wants to focus on them. Head sculpt number 1, not the most accurate in the world. Few quality control issues. You can see there that as soon as I pop the head sculpt onto the body, the peg part of it there just started disintegrating. It's just split. It just doesn't really fit the body correctly, so I don't think that's going to last very long. I'd say that's going to crumble apart eventually. Then we have the second head sculpt, the head sculpt where Sarah Connor blasts him in the face with the shotgun and it puts a hole straight through him. Not a bad sculpt. Probably it is definitely a better option than the neutral head sculpt, if you ask me, than the main head sculpt. If I was using them as a primary display, I'd probably use this head sculpt. But again, we'll get into more detail with the head sculpts a bit later on. Then we have his hands. 6 hands in total, 2 hands for trigger hands. We have 2 hands there for the iconic, the finger wagging no kind of gesture that he does with the hands when Sarah Connor runs out of the rounds with her shotgun. I'm not sure why we have a right hand doing that gesture, because he does it with the left hand. He doesn't do it with the right hand at all. So again, just essentially the reverse copies of each other, just laziness. And then we have a hand that looks like it's for holding maybe the torch. And then we have the, as I like to call it, the Call for John hand. It's made of a very soft plastic. You can see how kind of bendy that is there. So, there's no risk of it snapping, I suppose. So, it's safe enough from falling and that. They're okay hands, but they are lacking in the sense that there should be relaxed palms. He's really missing relaxed palms, but they are acceptable. I wonder what they'd look like on the Hot Toys figure, actually, because the wrist pegs are really exposed on the Hot Toys one, and the hands look very big on the Hot Toys one, so I might try them on the Hot Toys one a bit later on. Then we have his bladed arms that he basically morphs his hands into blades. Not bad, quite nicely done. There's nothing there I can see. There is a bit of a seam line there. You can see that painted blue at the ends. There is a bit of a seam line. We have the hook hand here as well. Not bad. As you can see there, the seam line running through. But the Hot Toys one has the same seam line. Fully plastic. And I thought we would have gotten two of these hook hands, to be honest, because anybody who knows the movie knows he makes both of his hands into the hook. Then we get his utility belt. That is a real leather belt. Now, all of the accessories attached to it are plastic molds, but the belt itself seems to be a real leather belt, which it's nice to get a real leather belt, as we did with the Hot Toys one. And all of the attachments are plastic molded, as it says, and we have all of the correct attachments: mags, torch, radio, handcuffs, and his pistol. Then we have the battle damaged attachments, I suppose, that would magnetize onto the body just like the Hot Toys one, although the magnets aren't as strong. But I've no real complaints about the molds. They're not extremely detailed, but they absolutely do the job. The mold is okay, and they are absolutely usable. And just like the Hot Toys one, they do like to magnetize to each other. Then we have his radio. Again, surprisingly, it has a nice little bit of detail to it. It has some buttons there on it, and it has a digital screen on it. Although there's nothing on the screen, it does have a digital screen on it there, and quite nicely done, no complaints. Then we have the torch, a little bit bland. The lens on it is like a dark, kind of almost like a black, which isn't correct, and there's no real depth in the details to it. They're a little bit lacking, but it is what it is. It goes in his belt. Then we have his handcuffs, fully metal sculpted, which is nice, fully functioning, very nice to have, and very well done. Then we have his pistol. Now, this looks a bit odd. It doesn't look like the Beretta 92F, I think it is, he uses. It looks like the slide is kind of off a 92F, and the lower half of it just doesn't look like a Beretta. It definitely isn't a Beretta 92F or a Beretta of any sort. It's like a crossover, but it kind of does the job. It's a little bit cheap. It's a little bit lacking in detail, in the sense that there's no dry brushing or anything on it, nowhere. It does have a functioning slide. The hammer doesn't work, and it does have a removable magazine, if I can get it out, although the bullet on the end of this one here has not been painted. There is a bullet there, but it has not been painted, and it actually looks like the bullet is pointing in the wrong direction, to be quite honest. Yeah, the bullet's pointing towards the back. That's hilarious. Is it the same on these ones here that are painted? Yeah, it is, yeah. These two spare mags here, the bullet is facing the wrong direction. You see that it goes into a point facing backwards. That is very tight there. But yeah, that's quite funny. But it's nice that we got the two spare mags. Hot Toys did not give us spare mags, so it is nice to have a couple of spare mags. As I said, Hot Toys didn't add them to their T-1000. Then moving on, we have his MP5K, which absolutely looks the part. It's not a bad job. Now the markings on it, the markings for semi-auto, safe and full auto, are the paint on them could be a bit more vibrant. It's a little bit dull. The construction of it is okay, but this end here where it's attached is a little bit bending downwards. But and it does have a removable magazine, as you can see there. But it does have, unlike the Hot Toys one, they have added the paddle mag release, which is ultimately, what an MP5K has, a paddle release mag, and the Hot Toys one didn't have it. So there is that little bit more detail in it just to have that paddle. If you are a stickler for the details or a gun guy, you would be happy with that. And we do have a functioning charging handle, a little bit flimsy, but it does function. Not a bad attempt though. It's a little bit of a shame that it slightly bends down, but it's not really noticeable at first glance. Then we have his sunglasses for his motorbike outfit. Not the greatest quality. They're not really translucent. They're just painted plastic. They're not very reflective. There's no chrome effect off them. They're more of a silver than a chrome. And the arms or the arms on them there are very, very thick. But, that just adds to the strength and adds to the durability of them. Then we have his motorcycle helmet, almost identical to the Hot Toys one. Very, very close in detail. Has the badge on the front, and just like the Hot Toys one, it does, to put it on the head sculpt, it does split in half, and it has plenty of foam on the inside there to prevent paint wearing off. So, yeah, very, very impressed and very surprised to see that much foam padding in it. We'll get into it a bit later on the figure if I can get this back on. Come on, get in there. There we go. And we also have the neck strap. On the Hot Toys one, it is buckled up. On this one, you will have to get our tweezers out and get that buckled up yourself. Then we have his alternate boots, his motorcycle boots. We'll get into them in a bit more detail when we get into the alternate look. Now his jacket, his motorcycle jacket, it's quite nicely done. It's made of a nice material. It's got all the right details in it. It's, as you can see there at the side, it has the markings on it, Los Angeles Police, and then the little motorcycle jockey logo on it, or insignia. Badge 572, which is correct. It looks the part. I'm quite happy with it. And just in regard to these hook hands there, they are painted, a navy to blend into his blue police uniform. So you can't really use them, just like the Hot Toys one. You can't really use them with the motorcycle outfit, which I don't know. I'm not sure if there was much they could do about that other than give us a separate set of hook hands or bladed hands with black kind of molded into them. But he doesn't really use his bladed hands. I think in one part where you don't actually see the blades when he's wearing the motorcycle helmet or jacket. The trousers are made out of like a polyester. They're not made of much of a great quality, but they do have all the separate patches in them. The separate patch on the crotch area there and the four pockets. They're absolutely designed correctly. Just unfortunate that they're just not the greatest quality in the world. So that's pretty much it for the accessories. So moving on, let's have a look at his base that he comes with. And here we have for the T-1000's base, or police robot base, identical to the present toys T-800 base in size. It has this very thin piece of aluminium glued onto the top of it, and it is aluminium. It's quite cold to the touch. It's a very, very thin piece of aluminium that is placed over the top, and it has a lot of scratches in that running through it, even out of the box. And then on the nameplate there, you can say is police robot T-1000 on it there. So yeah, unfortunately it's all scratched up, but what can you do? Very big base as well, in typical present toys fashion, I suppose. Huge footprint on it there. But there we are for the base. So moving on, and just quickly, Here we have the pre-order bonus gift of a second standard head sculpt and a second body with the the metal bits on it for magnetizing the bullet wounds onto it. It's okay quality body. It's not terrible, but it's okay. Like, you know, the joints are a little bit loose on it there, but the legs, the top of the legs are ratcheted, which is nice. Double jointed elbows and knees. It will serve its purpose. Very, very small, narrow shouldered body, probably as it should be for the T-1000. And you can see he has some traps on it there as well. The body that comes with the figure out of the box does have a full kind of undersuit on it there. It's not a fat suit. It's not padded or anything. I don't like undoing them, so I'm not going to do it. But you can see he has an over the top of the bodysuit. It does have a slightly padded fat suit. Very, very thin. But it is a slightly, padded suit. But it does have, an undersuit and then the fat suit, so to call it, on the inside, on top of that. So it does kind of hide the joints from exposing, having that wrapping over everything. So it's nice to have that undersuit. I'm considering, as I'm looking at it, using it for my Hot Toys figure, to be honest with you, stripping the Hot Toys figure and putting this on first, just to bulk the Hot Toys figure out a little bit. It might change the proportions a little bit, but you don't get the undersuit with the bonus, pre-order gift body. So it's a little bit unfortunate, because you can notice the difference when you have the clothing on the other body. But if you have the motorcycle jacket on the extra body, it's not a big deal. But you do only get one shirt, so you do have to zip the motorcycle jacket up all the way to the top, just to hide the fact that you don't have a second shirt. So yeah, moving on. Let's take a look at the figure itself. And here we have it standing pretty much straight up as it comes out of the box. Starting off from bottom to top in my usual fashion, you can see that he has a very matte pair of shoes on him there. And that is inaccurate in the sense that his shoes in the movie are extremely high gloss black. However, they did get the shape right. They rounded off at the top, as opposed to the Hot Toys ones that had a pointiness to them, which was inaccurate. These are accurately shaped, but inaccurately coloured. So, but it's nice that they gave us the accurate shape, and maybe a little bit of black gloss or black lacquer, or clear lacquer or gloss lacquer or black paint, maybe, just to bring them up and get an accurate colour to them. A little bit of lace detail to them, a little bit of stitching and a little bit of texture to them. No wash or dry brushing or anything put through them, but they do serve their purpose. It's just a shame they're not high gloss black. Then moving up, we have his standard patrolman trousers that he's wearing. No weathering on them. There shouldn't be. All the pockets in all the right places, as much as they're all really, really undersized. And again, a very underscaled pocket at the side there at the front, which he also should have, but they definitely should be bigger. They're quite small. We have a real leather belt. That feels like a real leather belt to me. I'm 99% sure that that's a real leather belt. The downside to this belt is when you put the patrol belt on, when the utility belt on, this belt here, when you put that on him, it bulks everything out a bit too much. If you noticed on the pan of the figure, it was very bulky, very difficult to get the other belt on over this belt. But it is what it is. It is possible to do, it just doesn't look great sitting on him. Then moving up to his shirt. Probably stitched better than the Hot Toys one. There goes that name badge again. This is a problem I keep having. I was trying to brush off a bit of dust there, and I keep having this issue with the name tag, the Austin name tag. Just keeps falling off, which is a major issue. Every time I press it back on, a little bit of paint rubs off the name, the text. So I'm going to have to dab a bit of glue on that and get that stuck on permanently before the name badge is completely worn away. The buttons are They're done okay. They protrude maybe a little bit much. They stick out maybe a little bit too much, but they're not too bad. He does have press studs holding them all together, and just like the Hot Toys one, the only one that's really exposed is the top one. The other ones are only very slightly exposed, but they're hidden quite well. Pockets are all in line, all accurate in the sense that they're the right shape. The buttons do have the detail of the stars in them. Same badge number as the movie, 572. And it's not as well detailed, the badge, as the Hot Toys one, but it serves its purpose. And even on the buttons on the lapel, it has the detail of the little star on them as well. So not too bad overall. And proportion-wise, it's not too bad either. Again, we'll have a comparison with the Hot Toys one a bit later on, but he's lacking a bit of traps. I did say that the body had traps on it, but with the shirt on, he is lacking a little bit, and you can't see much of the white shirt underneath. You should be able to see more of that white shirt. And it's funny because in the Hot Toys one, you can see too much of the white shirt, and on this one, you can't see enough of it. So I don't think anybody has gotten it right. But the uniform isn't terrible at all, and the proportions aren't terrible at all. As you can see there, if I can get him to stand up. Oh, something else I didn't mention as well was the ankle joints. They're exceptionally weak. There's no strength in them at all. He will stand up, but he's only just about standing up. But looking at him there, as I said, the proportions aren't too bad. They're not too bad at all. The clothes could be tailored a little bit better. He's not too thin looking, he's not too wide looking, and maybe that undersuit makes all the difference to just make him a bit more proportionate. So there we have it for this look for the T-1000. We'll switch over to the biker outfit and have a look at that now. And here we are for the biker outfit, and starting off with the boots. Not a bad mold, not a bad attempt. They're not glossy shiny like they should be, a bit more matte than they should be. Big seam line running down the outside there, which I do not like at all. Not a whole lot of depth to the mold, but they absolutely serviceable. They absolutely do the job. A little bit more detail in the laces than the Hot Toys one. The Hot Toys one was just a smooth plastic looking lace, but there's actually a bit of texture to the laces on this mold. So it's a really good job to have. They do look like a material, not just a flat piece of plastic like the Hot Toys one had. It's fantastic that they got that detail in, and surprising the Hot Toys didn't. But unfortunately, as I said, seam line and not glossy enough. But there's also a bit of texture to them as well, which I'm not sure how accurate that is. I think the boots were very, very smooth, like a painted leather on them. The trousers we already went through, no big deal. We'll carry on, and the same with the jacket. This is on the body with the shirt on underneath, so it fits him quite snug. It fits him quite well. I've no huge issues with it. It might be a little bit tight. I'm not sure. I'd have to look back at the movie. But there's a mark on the back there. I don't know how that managed to get on there. Don't know how I managed to get that mark on it. I've no real complaints about it. It's elasticated at the bottom, and then we have the helmet sitting on his head. Actually, we'll get him a bit more stable, and we'll do a close up on this head sculpt with the helmet on and take a look at the details and how it fits. And here we are. This head sculpt with the helmet on isn't too bad. Now there's a lot of give in that helmet. Now maybe if I was to buckle up the strap, it wouldn't be so wobbly on his head, but it isn't egregious. It's not too bad at all. It's completely acceptable. It hides the fact that it doesn't have much of a likeness to Robert Patrick in the head sculpt, so that is a plus to it. The glasses fit on him okay. It's actually serviceable. It's actually usable. It looks the part. As you can see there, you'd have to buckle that up just to get everything sitting a bit more right on him and not wobbling about the place. But absolutely acceptable to use them with this. I think this is the way I'm gonna go. Now, if you hang on to the end, you'll see exactly why I got this figure and what I'm going to be using it for, because I do have actually got 3 versions of the Hot Toys one. So I got this guy just for a specific purpose, and it is acceptable to have him like this. And I might even put the Hot Toys jacket on him when I'm using him for my purpose intended. So let's get in a bit closer now and actually just having a quick look at him in his final outfit. Having a quick look, you can see that the trousers are a different colour to the shirt. I'm not sure how accurate that is. I'd really have to look back at the movie. I could imagine in the real world, in the reality of it, the biker trousers being a different tone to the patrolman uniform. I don't think they would be exactly the same material and exactly the same colour from the biker trousers to the patrolman's uniform. But I might be wrong. I might be incorrect. Again, I'd have to look back at the movie to see if there is a colour difference. I know the Hot Toys ones are, I'm pretty sure the Hot Toys ones are identical in colour. I wonder which is more accurate, having them different colours or having them the same shade. I just thought I'd point that out. So, moving on. Here we have head sculpt number 1. The main head sculpt, or the no battle damaged head sculpt. As you can see there, it is nowhere near the look of Robert Patrick. It doesn't look like him at all, in my opinion. It is third party, so I didn't expect it to have an incredible likeness. But there are some third-party companies out there that do make their figures or sculpts look exactly like the actor or the character, and I don't know how they get away with that, to be honest. And then there's third-party companies who deliberately steer clear of making them look like the actor, just to make sure they don't get into any issues with likeness and licensing. So it kind of varies from third-party company to company. But this here, to me, it's almost like Present Toys sculpted the head sculpt for Robert Patrick's based off memory and didn't actually look at any reference photos. That's what it looks like to me. Or maybe they used the 0.10. The Hot Toys one, his forehead is massive, as you can see there. It's massive. I think the only thing they got right is his ears. You can see his ears coming out like Robert Patrick's do. But I think that's pretty much the most accurate to likeness they've gotten. The hair sculpt might be similar in shape also, but the forehead is too narrow and too long, and it just makes him look a bit Neanderthalish, I suppose, is the best way I can describe it. Paintwork is mediocre at best. It's a little bit flat. It's not too bad. There is a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow. The lips are adequately coloured. The eyes are similar to Robert Patrick's eye colour as well. So, and you can see the hair sculpting is typical third party. It's nothing incredible. It hasn't got a huge amount of depth to it, but it is what it is. So there we have it for head sculpt number 1. Let's move on and have a look at the battle damage head sculpt. And here we have the battle damage head sculpt, and I actually don't mind this head sculpt. I think it's sculpted quite well, and obviously because he has a big great gaping hole in his face, it doesn't have to look identical or exactly like Robert Patrick. You can get around the likeness issue because of the battle damage to the face. This is possibly an option for posing him too. I really don't think this head sculpt here on the right is an option without the helmet on, to hide the fact that it doesn't look like Robert Patrick. But this one here you could probably get away with just posing him up with the battle damage sculpt on, and the detail in the sculpt is okay as well. You can see that the rippling effect running through it is done quite well. You can see his ear is all pushed out as well, and the detail and the rippling effect is all done quite well. Paint isn't anything spectacular on it, but the mold is absolutely fine. I've no real issues with the mold. And even the colour of the silver, or the liquid metal kind of colour that they've gotten is quite spot on. It bounces off the light quite well. And it absolutely is an option if you're concerned about the likeness not being on point. It really doesn't have to be with this head sculpt. No rolling eyeball function, so you can't get that eye to turn to the side like it does after you get shot, but it is an absolutely serviceable head sculpt, and could definitely work on for you on the shelf. Absolutely. And again, paint apps aren't anything incredible, but again, completely acceptable. They're not absolutely atrocious either, you know. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that head sculpt that I believe is the better head sculpt and an option to display him with. So just quickly doing probably an unfair comparison with the Hot Toys one, the Hot Toys one on the right and the present toys on the left. I'm probably being a little bit unfair here. You can see that the likeness to Robert Patrick is there in the Hot Toys one and absolutely not there on the present toys one. So I probably, like I said, being a little bit unfair, but I just did want to do a comparison just to show you the difference. And if you spend that extra bit of money, you will get a much better figure with Hot Toys. And then we have this sculpt here, which is probably more comparable, which is the battle damage head sculpt. And you can see that the rippling effect is way more defined on the present toys one. Not necessarily accurate, but it is way more defined and very different. You can see how different those sculpts are and how the gaping hole is so different on both the head sculpts. But like I said, the present toys one does work for me. It's you know, if you didn't have the Hot Toys one, this head sculpt here for me would be the way I'd be going with displaying the figure. And you can see there that there's a lot more shirt shown, a t-shirt shown on the Hot Toys one than the present toys. And here we are for a quick comparison of the two figures or the two full bodies next to each other. And you can see that the Hot Toys one is a bit taller than the present toys one. Present toys being on the right, and the shirt being quite a deeper shade of navy on the present toys one. And the same with the pants, maybe a little bit darker as well. And the boots not being half as glossy on the present toys one than the Hot Toys one. Hot Toys one being a lot less textured as well, which, like I said earlier, I think is more accurate. They didn't really have much texture to them in the movie, but the outfit itself fits the Hot Toys one a lot more snug than the present toys tailoring. And you can see that I've got the neck of the Hot Toys one a bit more exposed. I've managed to push that t-shirt down a little bit to where it should be accurate to the movie. Can't do the same with the present toys one, unfortunately. So it's down to preference, really. If you want to splash out the extra money for the Hot Toys one with the far superior head sculpt, or the present toys one, which I said is kind of an option. It's not an absolutely egregious figure. So this is essentially what I'm going to be using this present toys figure for, which is on the motorcycle. I think he's absolutely adequate with the helmet on and the sunglasses on to use to, you know, display on the motorcycle. And it absolutely looks the part, and like I said, is acceptable. Obviously the motorcycle itself isn't 100% accurate, but there is no official 1/6 scale T-1000 motorcycle, so this will have to do until they bring out a 1/6 scale Hot Toys motorcycle, which I think they will bring out never, to be honest. I don't think we're ever going to get it. And just giving a quick kind of close-up on the bike and the details, it serves its purpose. Okay, the markings on it aren't correct. It says Metropolitan Police, not Los Angeles Police. None of it is die cast. It's all plastic, and it's quite pricey for a fully plastic bike, but you can see it has some detail to it. There's no details missing, in a sense. You can see the engine in there looks the part. It looks like it's built correctly. It's all in proportion to each other. He sits on the bike nice. Now the T-1000's boxes at the back of his motorcycle in the movie were actually black, so I might consider painting the back of the bike black, the boxes black, just to be a little bit more accurate to the bike that the T-1000 was riding in the movie. And even the dashboard there, you can see the displays. Everything is there, like it's got some nice detail inside there, all the knobs and switches and the two-way radio, and it absolutely serves its purpose. And you can see all the chrome bits on it are quite chrome. Now, it could be a little bit more weathered in certain areas. Look there at all the details, you know, all the clocks and that in it. They absolutely look the part. Like I said, it could do with maybe a little bit of weathering on it, which is something I might consider doing somewhere down the line, just to give it that, you know, a little bit more realism to it, to weather some of it down. But as a stand-in, I'm absolutely totally happy with this motorcycle, and you know, it looked well on the display. So this is probably the best stand-in, as I said, for a T-1000 motorcycle that there is out there. I got this on auction on eBay. There's a guy that auctions them every now and again, or sells them off every now and again. It seems to be the same guy has them, and I think there is still one or two available. They do kind of disappear and then pop back up from time to time. So if that bike does take your fancy, maybe I'd suggest just pop over to eBay and search 1/6 scale T-1000 motorcycle and see if you can pick one up if you fancy it. And like I said, if there isn't one available immediately, I'd keep my eye out for it, because it does kind of disappear and then pop back up again and goes up for auction. And so if that does interest you, like I said, check it out. So there we have it for the Presentize Police Robot T-1000. Not a bad figure overall if you are on a budget and you don't want to get the Hot Toys one. Looks to me great on the motorbike. That's why I got him. So if you did like this video and you do like this kind of content, please don't hesitate to hit the like and subscribe button. It really does help out the channel and helps us spread the videos about. So I'm going to leave it at that. If you made it this far, thank you very much, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.